Hello everyone, this is Dr. Satish S. Bornare, Department of Genetics and Plant Breeding, KK College of Agriculture, Nasik. Today we are going to learn the topic environmental ethics. So, what is this ethics? This ethics is the moral principles that govern a person's behavior or the conducting of an activity is the ethics. In simple words, these ethics are the moral principles of the person's attitude or person's behavior. So, next is what is environmental ethics? So, environmental ethics refers to the issues, principles, and the guidelines relating to human interaction with with their environment. So, this environmental ethics consists of the interaction between human and their environment and their issues, principles, and guidelines. Then, what are the different approaches of the environmental ethics? First one is a anthropocentric approach. Then second one is a biocentric approach, and third one is the ecocentric approach. So this is the three types of approaches of environmental ethics. Let us see one by one in detail. First one is a anthropocentric views or approach of this environmental ethics. So this anthropocentric views puts human being in the center, giving them the highest center. So this is the man-centric or human-centric approach of the environmental ethics. Anything not providing the positive benefit to the people is considered of a negative value, negligible value, and man is considered to be the most capable of managing the planet Earth and the in charge of the rest of the nature. So this is the anthropocentric or human-centric view of the environmental ethics. And economic growth is very good, and more the growth, the better it is, because it raises our quality of the life, and potential for the economic growth is unlimited. So this is all about the anthropocentric or human-centric view of the environmental ethics. Next is the biocentric view or biocentric approach. That means all life has ethical standing, and any action taken consider the effects on all living things or the biotic world in general. That means in this approach, the whole biotic life is taken as a center. It extends the status of the moral object from the human being to the all living things in the nature. And all living organisms pursue their own good in their own ways. Human has no right to decide the good of other living organism. The human being is not inherently superior to the other living things. So this is all about the biocentric view of the environmental ethics. Next is the ecocentric view or ecocentric approach. The nature exists not for the human being alone, but for all the species together. And the earth resources are limited, and they do not belong to only human beings. And according to this view, economic growth is good till it encourages the earth sustaining development and discourage the earth degrading development. A healthy economy depends upon the healthy environment, and the success of mankind depend upon how best we can cooperate with the rest of nature while trying to use the resources of nature for our benefit. So this is the total overview of ecocentric approach of the environmental ethics, which is very good, and it comments on the success of mankind as a whole, and which is depend upon the best we can cooperate with the rest of the nature, and through this we can use the resources of nature for our benefit very judiciously. Then what are the environmental ethics related issues and the problems? First one is a climate change. So what is climate? Climate is average weather of an area over long period, that is at least for 30 years, is called as climate. And the intergovernmental panel on the climate change, this is the apex body on, which regulate the climate change, shortly known as IPCC, in 1999 and 1990 and 1992 published the best available evidence about the past climate change, the greenhouse gases effect, and recent changes in the global temperature. And according to the IPCC, they publish various data related to the climate change. It is observed that the earth temperature has been changed considerably during the geological times, and it has experienced the several glacial and interglacial period. However, during past 10,000 years of the current interglacial period, the mean average temperature has fluctuated by 0.5 to 1 degree Celsius over 100 to 200 year period. And anthropogenic, that is man-made activities, are upsetting the delicate balance that has established between various components of the environment, and due to these various man-made activities the balance is going to be disturbed. The greenhouse gases are increasing in the atmosphere, resulting in increase the average global temperature. The global change in the temperature will not uniform everywhere and will fluctuate in different region. The places at the higher latitude will warm up more during the late autumn and winter than the places in the tropics. So these are the some of the observation noted by the IPCC. The poles may experience 2 to 3 times more warming than the global average, while warming in the tropics may be only 50 to 100% on an average, and the increased warming at the poles will reduce the thermal gradient between the equator and high latitude region, decreasing the energy available to the heat engine that drives the global weather machine. And this will disturb the global patterns of winds and ocean currents, as well as the timing and distribution of the rainfall, as we see in the recent that the pattern of the rainfall is very erratic or pathetic due to this climate change. By a temperature increase of 1.5 to 4.5 degrees Celsius, global hydrological cycle is expected to intensify by 5 to 10%. Then next is a global warming. The troposphere, as we all know that this is the lowermost layer of the atmosphere that traps the heat by a natural process due to the presence of certain gases, and these effects are called as greenhouse effect, and it is similar to the warming effect observed in the horticultural greenhouse made of the glass. In the diagram we can also see that the heat radiations or solar radiation incoming from the sun is reaches to the earth's surface, particularly in troposphere, and when it reaches to the surface of the earth it reflected back and go upward again. But due to the presence of the different gases, that is carbon dioxide, water vapor, methane, nitrous oxide, ozone in the atmosphere, this due to these gases the reflecting back heat radiations get trapped in the troposphere, and re-radiated heat radiations are gathered in the troposphere, which leading to the warming effect known as greenhouse effect, which is just like the horticulture greenhouse made up of glass. The amount of heat trapped in the atmosphere depend upon mostly the concentration of heat trapping or greenhouse gases and the length of the time and they stay in the atmosphere. So the global warming is totally depend upon the presence or amount of the greenhouse gases present in the particularly in the troposphere. The major greenhouse gases are carbon dioxide, ozone, methane, nitrous oxide, CFC, then chlorofluorocarbon, and water vapors. The average global temperature is 15 degrees Celsius. In the absence of these greenhouse gases, this temperature would have been minus 80 degree. Therefore, the greenhouse effect contributes to the temperature rise to a tune of 33 degree Celsius. And heat trapped by the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere keeps the planet warm enough to allow us and other species to exist. So this is the again the condition of the temperature in the atmosphere and particularly in the troposphere due to the presence and over quantity of these greenhouse gases. Then what are the impact of this enhanced greenhouse gases or greenhouse effect? First one is the global temperature increases. So as we see earlier, due to these greenhouse gases, the global temperature is increasing, and IPCC also gives in its report that this global temperature has increased by the tune of 1 to 2 degrees Celsius over the period of 100 to 200 years. Then next is rising sea level. So due to this greenhouse effect or global warming, the pattern of the rainfall or the total hydrological cycle are in question, and that's why the sudden or heavy rains or sometimes the sea level is also going to be increase or rise due to the glacier melting at the poles. Then effects on the human health, and due to these greenhouse gases present in the up to standard or above the standard quantity, the effect of the human health is reported due to these gases, mostly the very dangerous gases like HNO3, SO2, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide. Then effects on agriculture. So due to this greenhouse effect, the total agriculture is in question as the rainfall pattern is going to be changed, the availability of water is going to be changed. Sometimes there is heavy rainfall, or sometimes due to this climate change, the area is going to suffer due to the droughts, and due to this uneven pattern or pathetic rainfall, the total agriculture is going to be defective. So in short, these are the some of the impacts of the greenhouse effect which are related to other phenomena like climate change and global warming. Then what are the measures to check the global warming? To slow down the enhanced global warming, these are the some steps which will be the important one, in which first is the cut down the current rate of use of CFC. This is the chlorofluorocarbons and fossil fuels. Then use energy more efficiently, then shift to the renewable energy resources, and increase the newer nuclear power plant for electricity production so that the pollution is controlled. Then shift from the coal to the natural gas, as the coal is the main culprit to pollute the air, water and soil. Then trap and use the methane as an alternative source of fuel so that the pollutant released from the automobiles is going to be checked. Then reduce the beef production, then adopt the sustainable agriculture practices so that the balance is maintained. Then stabilize the population growth, which is a very cause of the all depleting resources or use of heavy use of these resources. Then efficiently remove the carbon dioxide from the smoke track. Then plant more trees, that is afforestation. And last one is remove atmospheric carbon dioxide by utilizing the photosynthetic algae. So these are the some of the measures which we can use to check the global warming. Then next is the acid rain. So what is this acid rain? These acid rays are the rays containing the oxides of the sulfur and nitrogen originating from the industrial operation or fossil fuel combustion, as we can see in the diagram also. So this is the dry deposition of that gases and wet deposition of the gases. This wet deposition is nothing but the acid rain. The oxides of sulfur and nitrogen originating from the industrial operations and the fossil fuel combustion are the major source of the acid forming gases. These acid forming gases are oxidized over the several days, by which time they travel several thousand kilometers, and in the atmosphere these gases are ultimately converted to the sulfuric acid and nitric acid, as we can see in the diagram also, this SO2 and NO2 is going to convert into the H2SO4, that is sulfuric acid and nitric acid, and due to that conversion sulfuric acid and nitric acid, when are these acids are mixed with the droplet of water, rainwater, the pH of that water is going to reduce below the 5 pH, and that's why called as the acid rain. Hydrogen chloride emission from the hydrochloric acid, this acid causes the acidic rain. So the acid rain is the rain water consisting of the sulfuric and nitric acid, and due to that acids, the pH of that particular drop is reduced below 5, and that's why called as acid rain. And in normal, these gases are deposited as dry and deposited on earth or water bodies, but when there is a rain, these are mixed with the rainwater and leading to the acid rain. So what are the effects of acid rain? So very notable effect of the acid rain is it causes deterioration of buildings, especially made by the marbles. Examples are very well known, that monuments like the Taj Mahal, that crystal of the calcium and magnesium sulfate are formed as a result of corrosion caused by this acid rain. So this is the very important one effect, notable effect of the acid rain, which causes corrosion of the very famous monuments like Taj Mahal made up of marble. Then second one is it damages stone statue. The priceless stone statue in Greece and Italy have been partially dissolved by this acid rain. Then it damages the metal and car finishes. Then aquatic life, especially fish, are badly affected by lake acidification, and aquatic animals suffers from the toxicity of metals such as aluminium, mercury, manganese, zinc and lead, which leak from the surrounding rocks due to the acid rain. So this is the another one major effect of the acid rain on the aquatic flora and fauna. Then it results in reproductive failure and killing of fish. Many lakes in Sweden, Norway, Canada have become fishless due to this acid rain. Then it damages the foliage and weakens the trees. So it is going to affect the foliage of the plants also, and also weakens the trees or plants. It makes tree more susceptible to the stresses like cold temperature, drought, etc. And many insects and fungi are more tolerant to acidic condition, and hence they can attack the susceptible trees and causes the disease. So as we all know that these insects and fungi are enter into the natural wounds or any artificial wounds. If the due to this acid rains, they the they favor their produce the favorable condition for the attack of these insects and fungus, and that's why the attack of that insects and fungus are more reported due to this acid rain. Then what are the control measures of that particular for acid rains? First one is emission of this SO2 and NO2. It is SO2. Emission of SO2 and NO2 from industries and power plants should be reduced by using pollution control equipments. Then second is liming of the lakes and soils should be done to correct the adverse effect of the acid rain. So this is the another one major important control measure in lakes and soil. Then third one is the coating of protective layer of inert polymer should be given in the interior of water pipes for drinking water. So these are the some of the measures which we can apply to control the intensity or reduce the intensity of the acid rain. Then next one is the ozone layer depletion. And for the last 450 million years, the earth has had a natural sunscreen in the stratosphere called as ozone layer. This layer filters out harmful ultraviolet radiations from the sunlight and thus protect various life forms on the earth. So this is the importance of the ozone layer. which is present in the stratosphere at the height of about 23 to 24 kilometer from the earth's surface, and this ozone is a form of oxygen. This ozone is a form of oxygen. The molecular oxygen contains 2 atoms, whereas that of ozone contains 3 atoms. So the molecular oxygen is O2, while this ozone is O3. In the stratosphere, the ozone is continuously being created by absorption of shortwave ultraviolet radiations, and ultraviolet radiations less than 242 nanometers decompose the molecular oxygen into the atomic oxygen, that is nascent oxygen, by photolytic decomposition. We can see here the molecular oxygen is broken down into the nascent oxygen, and the atomic oxygen rapidly reacts with the molecular oxygen to form the ozone. This atomic oxygen or nascent oxygen is react with the molecular oxygen and forming the ozone. Here M is the third body necessary to carry away the energy released in the reaction, and thus from the molecular oxygen and the atomic oxygen, ozone is going to be formed. Thus ozone formed distributes itself into the stratosphere and absorbs harmful radiations, that is 200 to 320 nanometer. This is the range of ultraviolet radiations, and is continuously being converted back to the molecular oxygen. So this is the reaction taken place in the stratosphere, and ozone is a measure to control the ultraviolet radiations, which is harmful to the living things, and ozone absorbs it and stop it to reaches as such at the earth's surface, and due to this absorption of UV radiations result in heating of the stratosphere. The net result of the above reaction is an equilibrium concentration of ozone, because we can see here the ozone is being formed, and as well as ozone is dissociated and again form the molecular oxygen and atomic oxygen. So in this reaction, the equilibrium concentration of the ozone is maintained. The ozone concentration is about at the 24 kilometer of the stratosphere, that is from 16 to 40 kilometer away from the earth, is about 10 ppm as compared to the 0.05 ppm concentration of harmful tropospheric ozone. This equilibrium is distributed by the reactive atoms of the chlorine, bromine, etc., which destroy the ozone molecules and result in thinning of the ozone layer, generally called as a ozone hole. Because of the chlorine and bromine, these reactive atoms are going to be reactive with the ozone, and the ozone equilibrium in the stratosphere is going to destroy, that is called as ozone hole or ozone layer depletion. So the amount of atmospheric ozone is measured by the Dobson spectrophotometer, and it is expressed in Dobson unit DU. The Antarctic ozone hole was discovered by Dr. Joy C. Harman and his colleagues in the British Atlantic Survey, who had been recording ozone layer level over this region since 1957. And CFC, these chlorofluorocarbon, are mainly responsible for ozone depletion in the stratosphere. As we see recently that the chlorine and bromine, these are the reactive molecules that react with the ozone and destroy it, and we called it as a ozone layer depletion. And source of that chlorine is the CFC, that is chlorofluorocarbon. And in 1974, the Rowland and Molina warned that the CFC are the lowering concentration of the ozone in the stratosphere and predicted severe consequences of this. And it was, however, in 1985 that scientists for the first time discovered that 50%, that is 98% in some area of upper stratospheric ozone over the Antarctica was destroyed during the Antarctic spring and early summer, that is in September to December. So this is the another one report, and by this report they have reported that the stratospheric ozone over the Antarctica is going to be destroyed in this Antarctica spring. Then nitrous oxide emitted from supersonic aircrafts. This is the source, and the culprit is nitrous oxide. During the combustion of fossil fuel and the use of nitrogenous fertilizer break ozone molecule. So these three, that is nitrous oxide, then this nitrous oxide produced by the supersonic aircraft, then during the combustion of the fossil fuel and the use of the nitrogenous fertilizers release the nitrous oxide, which breaks the ozone molecule, and thus this is the another one culprit that destroy the ozone layer. Chlorine liberated from chlorofluorocarbons also break the ozone molecules. As we discussed recently, that these chlorine are also responsible for breakdown of ozone molecules. So these two, nitrous oxide and chlorine, are the main culprit that breaks the ozone molecule. So what are the different effects of the ozone depletion? This ozone depletion in stratosphere will result in more UV radiation reaching to the earth, especially UV radiations UVB, that is the range of 290 to 320 nanometer. This UVB radiations affect the DNA and the photosynthetic chemicals, and any change in DNA can result in mutation and cancer. And cases of skin cancer, that is basal and squamous cell carcinoma, which do not cause death but cause the disfigurement will increase. So these are the harmful effects of that particular ultraviolet radiations range, and which causes the mutation and cancer. And easy absorption of UV radiation rays by the lens and cornea of the eye will result in increases in incidence of the cataract. So due to this ozone depletion, there might be a chances of increase in incidence of the cataract. Then melanin producing cells of the epidermis, important for human system, will be destroyed by UV rays, resulting in immunosuppression. And fair people can produce enough melanin will be at the greater risk of UV exposure. So these fair people can't produce enough melanin, because the fairness of our skin color is depend on the melanin pigment. If it is melanin pigment is more, then people having the darker complexion, but if the melanin is low, people having fair complexion, and the fair people will be at the greater risk of the UV exposure. Then phytoplanktons are the sensitive to the UV exposure, and ozone depletion will result in the decrease in their population, thereby affecting the population of zooplankton, fish, marine animals, in fact whole aquatic food chain. So these are the another important one effects of the ozone depletion on the aquatic biota. Yield of the vital crops like corn, rice, soybean, cotton, bean, pea, sorghum and wheat will be decreases due to this ozone depletion. And degradation of paints, plastics, other polymer material will result in economic loss due to the effect of UV radiation resulting from the ozone depletion. So these are the some of the effects of the ozone depletion. Then next one is a nuclear accident and holocaust. We all know that the 1986 Chernobyl nuclear power plant accident was the worst in the history, which leads to the 6 million people in danger and expose these 6 million people to the dangerous radiations. And according to World Health Organization, this is the most disastrous event of the nuclear accident in the history and left the portion of our planet nearly inheritable. So these pictures also tell us what actually the nuclear accident happened in the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. We can see here the total core of that particular nuclear plant. As we can see in the before picture, the total base of that nuclear power plant is going to disturb due to that accident, and here the core of the reactor 4 is going to damage due to this accident, and this is the worst nuclear accident in the history. Then case study, the nuclear holocaust in the Japan in 1945. The two nuclear bombs were dropped on the Hiroshima and Nagasaki, cities of the Japan, and we all are aware about that. Due to this nuclear holocaust in Japan, the vast devastators happened, and one fusion bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, and this holocaust, large scale destruction of human lives by fire, killed about 1 lakh people and destroyed the city totally. This forceful explosion emitted neutrons and gamma radiations. It had the force of 12 kiloton of the trinitrotoluene, that is TNT. The radioactive strontium, that is SR90, liberated in the explosion resembles the calcium and has property of replacing the calcium of the bones. So this is the another one effect. Besides the direct effect which killed the 1 lakh people, there is indirect effect of this nuclear holocaust also, because the material used, that is TNT, which having the radioactive strontium, that is SR90, this liberated due to this fusion or explosion, and which resembles to the calcium of the human body bone, and this replaces the calcium of the bone and thus produces the harmful mutations or inherent mutations in the next generation also. This is the dangerous thing of that nuclear holocaust. As a result, large scale bone deformities occurred in the inhabitants of this city. Even after more than 50 years, the impacts of the nuclear fallout are still visible. In the diagram, we can see also the survivor or a victim of that nuclear holocaust are also suffering even today also because of that radioactive strontium used in this nuclear fusion or nuclear bombing or nuclear holocaust. Then next is consumerism and waste product. The consumerism refers to the consumption of the resources by the people. So this is the simple one definition of the consumerism. Consumerism means consumption of the resources by the people. While early human society is used to consume much less resources, with the dawn of industrial era, the consumerism has shown an exponential rise, and it has been related both to increase in the population size as well as increase in our demand due to the change in lifestyle. Earlier, we used to live much simpler life and used to have fewer wants. In the modern society, our needs have to multiply, and so consumerism of resources has been also multiplied. So as we all know that the consumerism is rise day by day, or in the modern society our needs are unlimited, and that's why we are more towards the consumerism or consumption of number of resources. The comparison of consumerism and waste generation of the USA and India. Here is a comparison of the consumerism and waste generation, and the parameters are given here, in which the population of USA is 4.7% while India is 16%. Here is a comparison of percent global values of USA and India, in which for population India is having 16% and USA is having 4.7% population, while the production of goods is by USA is 21% and India is merely 1%, and energy use, the USA used 25% on global basis values, the energy, while India use 3%. While the pollutant or waste produced by the USA are 25% and India is 3%. And the CFC production, that is chlorofluorocarbons production due to the industrial activities in USA is the 22%. The CFC is mostly produced in the refrigeration, and in USA its percentage is 22, while in India it is merely 0.7%. So this is the perfect example of consumerism, and this table shows that although population of India is 3-4 times more than the USA, we can see here Indian population is more than 3-4 times of the USA. Its overall energy use and waste generations are less than 1/8 of the USA. We can see here. Thus, more consumerism leads to the more waste production. Here is some case studies or some research done by the Paul Ehrlich on the consumerism. On an average, US citizen consumes 50 times as much as an Indian. What are the resources? What are the resources available? The US citizen consumes 15 times as much as compared to the Indians, and on an average, a US born baby due to high consumerism will damage the planet Earth 20 to 100 times more in a lifetime than a baby born in a poor family of LDC. Then a Japanese with similar lifestyle as that of the American causes the half of the impact of the environment. This is due to the better technology by adopting the energy efficient and eco-friendly technologies, and by following the 3R principle, that is reduce, reuse and recycle, they have minimized the waste generated due to the consumerism. So this is the research highlight of the Paul Ehrlich, and he reported the observation in comparison with US and other countries, and here he noted that the US born baby due to its high consumerism will damage planet Earth by 20 to 100 times more in a lifetime than a baby from the poor family of least developed countries or poor countries. And as compared to Japanese, these Japanese with similar lifestyle as that of America causes half of the impact on the environment, and this is due to the better technology or by adopting the energy efficient and eco-friendly technologies by the Japan, and they follow the 3R principle, that is reduce, reuse and recycle. They have minimized the waste generation due to this consumerism. So these are some of the highlights of the study of the consumerism. So thank you friends. This video is for educational purpose only and references are as below. Thanks once again.